Thank you,
Thank you,
snowboarding.
snowboarding.
Hey friends, how are you doing? My name is Chris Cracknell. You are listening to Thank You Snowboarding, the podcast uncovering all aspects of UK snowboarding culture, from the pioneers up in Scotland, hand building boards in the 80s, to the current crop of UK shredders, showing the rest of the world what a country without big mountains looks like. I'm not going to cast shade on Scotland and their mountains. I'm going up there next week. Yeah, how are you doing? We do all this work, all this good work, with the kind help of the Snowboard Asylum. I'm going to talk more about that later, but they've been looking after snowboarding for the last 35 years. So if there's anything you need, go see those guys. They know their shit. So this week's guest is someone that's been in snowboarding in the UK for longer than I gave him credit for. And I gave him credit for being in it as long as I can remember. Certainly early copies of Snowboard UK pops up. A young dreadlocked Phil Young. And Phil's still doing the business, communicating snowboarding and skateboarding to brands outside of snowboarding and skateboarding and action sports in general, who want to use it to promote themselves. But obviously, coming from a snowboarding background, how brands represent snowboarding when they use it to promote whatever it is they're promoting is really, really important. And Phil's been doing that good work for quite some years and doing it very, very well. We kind of get into all that side of what he does. He's champion of diversity in action sports. He's the reason why I DJ. I saw him DJ at the Morrow Jam at Hillingdon Dry Slope years and years ago, and he was playing a track that sampled Talking Heads Once in a Lifetime. And that switched me on to the possibility of being a DJ, seeing it up close, involved in in the lifestyle that I loved. And we talk about that quite a lot as well. In fact, when I interviewed him, he had his records behind him, and that's what sparked that conversation. So yeah, Phil is a snowboarder through and through. What a pleasure to have him on. I kind of haven't spent enough time hanging out with Phil Young over the years, so this was a real welcome catch-up. So let's do it. Here we go. Phil Young, A Life of Snowboarding. It's good that you got your records out, though.
Got the records out. Got turntables there. Sound system in. Subs there. Yeah, I've moved the records around so much, I don't really know where anything is. And I've got a whole load of other ones over in Wales.
Right.
But I'm going to need to rent that out because I need some money. So I'm going to need to go and get those records and bring them back here and figure out where I'm going to put them.
Yeah, they get messed up pretty quick. Like mine, you can see mine behind me.
Yeah.
And they're in just a total mess. I did catalogue them, went on Discogs and...
Oh, really?
Catalogued them, yeah. That's quite a fun experience, really. You get quite into it. You can scan barcodes on them.
Wow.
So it's a bit of a laborious process, but because of that, they're now in a worse mess.
What do you do with that now you've catalogued them?
Well, I told my missus, and she was like, get them sold. I was like, I'm not selling them.
Yeah.
There's quite a lot of money there. There's about 50 grand's worth there.
Yeah, but these are things that you don't play, but you can't get rid of them because you obviously need them for something, right?
Exactly that.
Yeah, I've got a bunch of those kind of things: magazines, vinyl toys, old skateboards, books. You know, stuff in boxes that I have no intention of going into that box. Can't get rid of them.
Well, I know, but that was the thing. I was like, do I actually need all these records? Like, would my life... I mean, I'd probably survive without them.
I think you probably will. There's records I've never played. I've got records I've never played.
Yeah, I think I've played most of mine at some point or another. There's the odd one. There's the odd one that I've bought, like Michael Kiwanuka's first album. Like, everyone got that. So I was just like, well, there's no point me playing it on the radio. So it stayed in its packet, and then I
Yeah.
Yeah, I gave it to my neighbour because they're quite a big fan. So I was like, oh, there you go. Look,
Oh, wow.
unopened original copy.
Very, very nice.
Yeah.
And shoes. Got lots of trainers that, that I won't wear again. Luckily, my son's got this pretty much the same shoe size as me, so he comes around and just helps me out by getting rid of them out of my cupboard, or on top of my cupboard, actually, or various other bits around the house where they seem to loiter in boxes. There you go.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Like stuff, because I think of all the snowboarding stuff that I've had, and I haven't got any of it.
No,
I used to get boxes and boxes of stuff, and I've got nothing.
I used to have an old Burton Cruiser. First board I ever bought. Yeah, got it off Martin Drayton's. Remember Martin Drayton?
Martin Drayton's name comes up a lot, actually.
Yeah, I bought my first board from him.
Right.
I saw it I'd gone snowboarding with some friends with homemade snowboards on a school trip, and we came back. I mean, this was early days, Chris. We came back, and I was like, I'm into snowboarding. This is what I'm gonna do, because I was a skier. I used to ski a lot as a kid. I was very fortunate that I was taken off to ski schools.
Where did you grow up?
I grew up in a small town called Chesham.
Oh yeah, that's sort of suburban London, isn't it?
Yeah, it's like Waltham Cross. Waltham Cross. It's like where I don't know if you might not the Lee Valley Aquatic Centre, where they do all the, what do you call that, kayaking for the Olympics, that kind of stuff. It's around there somewhere. So it's North London. So I was born in Enfield, which is north. Well, it was Middlesex, but now I think it's just London.
Been subsumed.
And then kind of grew up in Chesham till about the age of 13. But I was shipped off to Ski Club of Great Britain. Oh,
really?
I'm about 10 or something.
How come? Like, what? Where would anyone would have seen that to do that?
So I was brought up by my grandparents, and my mother was, backwards and forwards overseas on jobs or whatever.
Okay. And
my grandparents, they had 4 children. And I think the youngest, my uncle, I think he was still at home. And I was just kind of a bit of a energetic, shall we say, child.
Okay.
And an only child. So it was a case of like, what do we do with him?
Yeah. How do we tire him out?
On the holidays. So I was sent off to adventure clubs and summer camps. And in the winter, it was great. They used to throw things at me and say, you see what's stuff. And skiing was one of the things. I mean, sailing, skiing, so anything, right? Table tennis, squash, you name it, just throw it at me. Because I was sporty, still am. And skiing was one of them, and I loved it. Right, it was cold, and I got into it.
Yeah.
Used to have fun, used to hurt myself, but I really enjoyed it. Loved being up in the mountains.
So where would you have got to have gone?
So in those days, growing up, we would have been, I think the first place I went to was a place in Italy called, and that was actually a family holiday the first time we went.
Right.
And then after that, I was shipped off because I loved it on the family holiday.
Yeah.
They said, let's just keep sending it there. And that was a place called Macunaga or somewhere.
Never heard of it.
Italy. No, it's a small little town. I think it's the other side of the Matterhorn.
Right.
Than most people see. I looked it up the other week, actually. It still goes. It's a small little Italian village.
Is it on its own, or is it part of one of those big, one of those big areas?
These days, it's probably linked by a bus or something like that.
Yeah.
Or like get a chairlift that goes back over to something that you can go and access it. So I should imagine most of them these days are interconnected, aren't they?
You think so, wouldn't you?
A big pass that will probably incorporate that. I'll have to look it up. Macunaga or something.
Sounds interesting. All those little resorts are interesting because it's like if you want some good snow, like if it snows, there's just not
Yeah,
many
it's
people
one of
there,
those
and you
types of
get
wave
to.
parks. Al Green? No, Al Green.
I do know Al Green. Yeah.
Yeah. So he used to have a place in Switzerland called Larchenalp.
That's right.
Did you ever go to that one?
Sadly, never got the invite from Al.
Yeah.
I'm going to be speaking to him about that quite soon.
Yeah, have a little one. He hasn't got the place anymore.
Oh, man. Maybe I won't bother speaking to him then.
It's one of these little tributary valleys on the way up to Saas-Fee.
Okay.
So you go up to Saas-Fee and just hook a left.
Yeah.
Up some random road past some of the gold that the Swiss hoarded in the Second World War. Up one of those ones, and you get to this little. It's a road with a couple of bars on. Then there's a cable car that takes you up the mountain.
Yeah.
To this little resort on the mountain.
Amazing.
But there's no roads. It's just you have to get around on like sleds or just drag your stuff. And there's 6 lifts there. Yeah. And relatively few people. You don't queue. And as far as if you want to ride piste, it's fairly limited. But if you want backcountry, I mean, it's fucking unbelievable. You know, you get one of the lifts, you just hike 20 minutes, and you've got whole open bowls with 3 or 4 other people on them. You make your way down. There'll be like a refuge somewhere randomly that's selling something. Yeah. And then you make your way down, and you get a lift. You get a bus back to the bottom of that cable car again, and that's your day out.
Oh man, I mean that sounds like my idea of snowboarding heaven now. Do you know what I mean?
I mean that's what it's about, isn't it? Really, I think you take a. Hey, look, I've not left the ground for decades. You know, so
I'm still trying to, man. I'm still trying to keep the dream alive with varying results.
That dream died a long time ago. So as far as riding, if I'm going out with the lads, let's say, and that's not a sexist thing. I mean, I'm going out with people who can ride and are into the same kind of thing. Yeah. As me, what's good is just a mission. Yeah. Okay, let's go up here. Let's do a bit of a hike, and we'll do this face. Yeah, totally. And we'll come back and we'll have a beer at the end, and that's it. Yeah. Well, we'll get onto some of that a bit later. But you've been riding forever. Still shit. Well, I wasn't making that point, but I mean, like me, I suppose. But like you were there, you were in the earliest Snowboard UKs. Yeah. With dreadlocks. Would I be right? Jesus, when I had hair. When you had hair. Yeah. I don't think I've known you since you've had hair. So when you had hair. Did you not? Okay. No, I don't think so. So I think it would have been the first time as I said, we made snowboards. Yeah. Tell me about that. That would have been 86, 87. Were you doing that in school or just? Yeah, it was a college, actually. Darren Robinson, who used to do A4 distribution with Al Green. Yeah. Before that existed, he used to. He's a really good friend of mine, Dan Robinson. Lives down in Bude in Cornwall now. That's right. Surfer and skateboarder. So I met him at college. So I don't know if he knows this. Actually, I was doing a sports course. Yeah. And he was doing a sports course in Harlow College. But they were like different sports course. The one I was doing was the one that you did if you were really smart. if you had what are you saying? GCSE. Casting some shade on Darren, I think. I am. I'm being. No, it was a different course. So the course I did was doing with, I think it was with A levels, and he was doing one that was purely sports marketing or sports business or something like that. You know, in fact, you know, he's clearly got more brains than me because he's been very successful.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly put that to good use, didn't he?
Yeah, absolutely, very smart man. So he turned up one day. I didn't know him. There's a few people in my course who did know him because they went to school with each other in the area. I saw him. I was sitting in the refectory or whatever, and I saw this guy skateboarding outside the cafeteria.
Right.
And he had this like Nike Windrunner on, and do you know what I mean? And I was like, that guy looks really cool. and I was, you know, I'd skateboarded as a kid, but then it kind of is left in the garage or whatever. And he turns out I connected with him. Turns out he worked at a skateboard stroke BMX store in Waltham Cross called Phase 7.
Oh, I've heard of Phase 7.
It was run by a guy called Joe Burlow.
That's right. They went on. They distributed stuff, didn't they?
They set up with Dan McGee. They set up Blueprint.
That's right. Yeah.
Blueprint skateboards, which obviously was huge. And before that, I think they had a brand called Brand X. Mm-hmm. Where I think Sean Goff was on that.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
The other people. So that was, and he worked there because he was a really good BMXer. He was on the Highway team. And
man, I want to get. I've got a few BMXs in my garage at the moment that I'm going to do up because we've got a new pump track down here.
All the rage.
On my one, I want to get some tough twos on there.
Oh, there you go. Well, speak to Darren. I think he had the second cover of BMX Action Bike or something.
I didn't know that.
Doing a big tabletop out of the Ron Performance Bowl.
Sweet.
I don't think I'm making that up because I've seen. I mean, he was good. There's a good.
He's got it framed in his house, has he?
Yeah,
in his downstairs loo.
I've seen it. It might be on his Facebook somewhere. I don't know. But because he was he was a BMXer, and they used to do Phase 7 used to do BMX and skateboard.
Yeah.
And he said, "I'll come down to the shop." And I went to primary school in Waltham Cross.
Okay.
So I knew the area. I knew where the shop was. So I went down there and I walked in, and there was all these skateboards on the wall, and I was like, "Holy shit! This is skateboarding, is it?" And I remember it very clearly. On the TV, it was Future Primitive, that Bones.
Yeah.
The second Pal Peralta video was playing with who was it? I can't remember who was skating. Can't remember. It'll come to me. Anyway,
I'll put a link to it in the
put a link
on the YouTube channel or something.
Yeah, an amazing video that kind of like, okay, skateboarding. You know, I'd seen Darren, I'd seen skateboard. I was like, okay, I'm in. You know, where do I sign? And then there was a college ski trip.
Yeah,
and we said, let's do this. Let's make some snowboards, because he'd come back. He'd gone to some trade show with Phase 7 with this magazine, and in it was like a surf magazine type thing, trade show magazine.
Yeah,
and Gotcha Pants, Life's a Beach stuff, all this kind of
all that stuff.
Yeah, but in it there was a picture of a guy on a snowboard.
Right.
And we were like, what is this? What is this? Because we were into skateboarding.
Yeah.
I was being a bad surfer somewhere, going down to Wales because it's an old family house there.
Right.
And thought, this is, it's the trifecta, isn't it? It's like the snow through my skiing.
Yeah.
It was surfing,
ticks all the boxes.
and it was skateboarding, the Holy Trinity, right? And I thought, let's make them. And that was my in. Kind. We went to Courmayeur, I mean, ridiculous with these homemade snowboards.
How did you get a design? Like, what did you base your design on?
On this picture.
Just this one picture?
On this picture.
No
we
way.
Like, okay, we get it. We know what we're dealing with here.
Yeah.
And I think we were part-time in a do-it-all, which was a DIY thing, like a B&Q.
Yeah, it's like home base, isn't it?
Yeah, so we had a Saturday job there, and we just shoved some plywood out the back.
Yeah.
Came back under the cover of darkness, went through the skip, pulled out the plywood, got some angle beading for the edges.
Yeah.
Cut some metal out. They used to, I mean, the originals used to have a little fin underneath it.
Yeah, that's right, they did.
So we cut that, put some fins on the edges with cut out metal, varnished the bottom with some boat varnish.
Yeah.
Screwed on some roller skate boots, and took it up to the top of the mountain.
How'd you get on?
I mean, we could. I mean, one of the boots came off halfway down. It was only screwed on with some wood screws, and one of them came off. I actually got to the top and dropped my board, so I was running down the board down the mountain after it. But it was a powder day, right? So you can ride an ironing board.
Yeah, you can do anything
on a powder day. So we had these things on the cable car. There was all these Italian and French dudes with like proper serious mountaineering kit on, with rope harnesses and a load of gear, crampons and shit, and us teenagers. Where do we go? Roller skate boots. Looking at us like, who are these jokers? But by the time we got down to the bottom of the mountain, I mean, how high is Courmayeur? It's got to be 2.6, right? If not higher.
Yeah, it's the backside of Mont Blanc, isn't it?
Yeah, so it's not that they've got that sky, whatever it is, Skywalker thing that goes up to like 3,000. It's not that one.
Okay.
It's the one from the town, the old cable car. But there's a top ticket that will take you up to, it's 2.6, 2.7, something like that. So reasonably high. And we took it. We rode them all the way down to the valley bottom, to the town. And by the time we got to the bottom, we could kind of do it.
Yeah,
we could kind of do it. And I came back from there, and said, I'm getting a snowboard. So that's when I was looking through a copy of RAD magazine, obviously, I guess, ultimately turned into Sidewalk or some, wherever that line goes. By the time it was probably BMX Action Bike X, RAD, Read and Destroy, those kind of things. And it was a little classified. It used to have classified ads in the back there, and it said,
that's right, yeah.
It said snowboard for sale, Burton Cruiser, which I had no idea what Burton Cruiser was at the time. I just knew that I wanted to get a snowboard.
Yeah.
So I went round up to Kilburn, I think it was.
Yeah.
Martin Drayton. Lo and behold, it was a black dude selling me a snowboard. I was like, it was another 10 years till I saw another guy with a snowboard. But the first time I'd been introduced to anyone who knew anything about snowboarding was Martin Drayton. So he's like one of the originals. So I mean, it was very kind and gracious of you, Chris, to say that I was like first generation. Yeah. I probably wasn't. I was probably 1.5.
Okay.
Because there were people who were there before me.
Yeah.
Not many. And I think someone did a was it Hugh? Welsh guy. It's written a book about it, actually, that he actually identified where all the pockets of snowboarders around the UK came from.
I need to speak to him then, don't I, really?
There's a Welsh crew, there's a Scottish crew.
Yeah.
We, I guess, were the London / Essex crew. I think there was probably some guys down in the southwest.
Yeah.
There was, I think, a Midlands crew as well. So
when you met Martin, did he know that there was other pockets of this stuff going on?
It was. I mean, it was pretty transactional, to be honest with you.
Right.
I said, like, oh, you got a snowboard? He's like, yeah, here's the money. How'd you do it? It's like, oh, gotta go. And that was it. And then Darren and I went snowboarding that next season to, I don't know where we went. We were going to France a lot. So
did you ever go to the dry slope?
Yeah, I mean,
there's quite a tidy dry slope in Harlow. Well, there was.
Well, yeah, there was. We used to go to the dry slope. I mean, as part of our college course, we used to go skiing at the dry slope.
Right.
And then we did snowboarding at the dry slope. And when we were part of that kind of the dry slope tour scene, you know, when there's a real kind of tight snowboarding community in the UK.
Yeah.
There were events up and down the country, many of which I'm sure you've talked about on your podcast. I mean, obviously the pinnacle of them being the Sheffield one, where there was a riot and there was a storm and Russ Ward's. I mean, I've got an amazing picture somewhere of Russ Ward's caravan upside down at the bottom of the hill on the way up to Sheffield ski slope.
I think didn't that get published in White Lines or Snowboard UK or something?
I can't remember. I hope so.
I'm sure I've seen that.
And someone had sprayed "Beware of the Squirrel."
That's right.
What?
It's called the Discotheque Le Funk, wasn't it?
I mean, it was. I mean, what a night that was! What a night! I mean, and I've got pictures, you know, that are fairly incriminating of people smashing that place up.
Have you?
Yeah. I mean, there was a couple of people in particular who remain nameless, who shouted "free bar," and then proceeded to jump over the table and open up the beers and hand them out.
Yeah.
And then there's police dogs around and riot police. I mean, all good fun.
It was good fun. We'll keep your powder dry on that because I think I'm going to do a Sheffield Riot special and get contributions from everyone. Yeah,
it was. So yeah, I mean, I did do a bit of the dry slope thing, but I did vow many years ago that I wouldn't ever ride dry slope again.
I think that's fair enough.
Because back in the days, it wasn't this Snowflex business. It was it was that, you know, that for those who don't, like squares or triangles of finger hell that would just snap your fingers. So I would wear mittens rather than gloves.
Okay, that's a good
solid
advice.
Yeah, and I would just burn up my hips and the small of my back and the knees, and you know it.
But I mean, for all that, I mean, it's an amazing, or certainly sort of at the time, it was an amazing thing because it was consistent. It was always there. Your mates were going to be there.
Hey, look,
it gave so much. I mean, but it made you like, I can fall over, I think, anywhere now, and I can, you know, when your ankle turns a bit sideways, and you're like, if I put any, do you know what I mean? Like, that's a broken ankle scenario in some cases, but I'm good at like recognizing that's about to happen and then like rolling with it. Do you know what I mean? So like, dry slopes taught me how to not hurt myself as much in real life.
Well, I mean, you're lucky because it actually did hurt me. That's the thing. it hurt. So I kind of, I mean, I'd go to the thing. I mean, I used to go to like the Morrow jams, which were always good.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd travel like Sheffield, went to, I think, maybe Blackpool or somewhere near Blackpool. I mean, we used to go to, you know, crazy. If I look back at it, I think that's kind of crazy that I would travel all this way to go to a dry slope event and actually not even ride.
Well, you used to do a lot of DJing at them, didn't you?
Well, that's kind of where I fell into, you know, my niche. You know, I'd still want to be part of it, but just didn't really want to have to ride at them because I knew I hurt myself, and I've hurt myself a lot over the years. So anything that I can do to mitigate, you know, trashing myself even more, I would do. But I love the scene. I love the culture, and my closest friends have come from there.
Yeah.
And
well, it's because of you that I started DJing.
Oh, there you go.
Cool. It was at the Morrow. Funny you just said the Morrow Jam. It was at the Morrow Jam at Hillingdon.
Right.
And I think I've said this to you before because I've tried to find the tune. You played a tune that had the sort of the bass line out of Talking Heads' Once in a Lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember like stopping in my tracks and thinking, fucking, this is cool. I want to be able to do this. And then I basically went and learnt to DJ off the back of that.
Great. That's a lovely story as well. I mean, it's we all get something from someone else. It's like maybe I inspired you, but I've definitely been inspired by other people, right? So just kind of pass it on, and I'm sure there's plenty of people who've been inspired by yourself, whether that's your riding, your music, your DJing.
Yeah. But I mean, I'd never really seen anybody DJing up close.
Right.
And didn't really sort of thought it was a different.
Look too close.
No, well, but I'd not seen it up close, and I didn't know how it related to me. And then all of a sudden, I'm like, here I am. I'm at a dry slope. I'm riding my snowboard, and all of a sudden, DJing's part of this world as well. Like, this is another part of this culture. Like, how I want some of that as well. Like, I want the whole thing. So thanks.
And I tell you what was interesting about that time is that we were able to shape what this thing was.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that attracted me to snowboarding, because when we started it was embryonic, right? It could be whatever we wanted it to be. And to a certain extent it is now. But there are kind of unwritten rules about how it is and what you should do and what you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to events, there's sanctions, there's rules, there's protocol. Back in those days, there were none. It's like, what shall we do today? How are we going to make this work? Let's just make it up as we go along. And that was the beauty of it. Is that it was that DIY skateboard mentality that I love so much.
Yeah, totally.
You've got rules. Almost, it's a creative pursuit, isn't it?
Yeah.
Snowboarding. It is purest form. It's, here's a mountain, here's a piece of wood. Off you go.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want, and as soon as you start putting those kind of guardrails around it becomes a little bit less than for me. There's still scope to do loads of things, but I've always been a little bit wary of someone who says that's not cool or that's not how we do it.
Yeah.
Because who's to say what's right or what's wrong? It's always been a personal thing to me, and shy away from people who tell me what I can and can't do.
So how did Board Stupid come about? Because that was like really quite early on in snowboarding, wasn't it? It's like 94, 95, sort of that time.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean,
and that presented snowboarding in a. It wasn't how, say, for instance, Ski Sunday would have presented snowboarding. Do you know what I mean? It was almost like an urban sport up there with skateboarding. It was presented more in a lifestyle, music, here's the misfits that do it kind of way. Like it, again, just thinking about that DIY aspect of it, it felt like we can choose how to present this sport. It's not like a structure telling us how our sport should be presented. And I think Board Stupid was like the sort of the epitome of that.
I mean, that was intentional, right? Is that there was no template on it, so we could do whatever we wanted there.
Yeah.
And
so how did that sort of birth come about? Like who approached who?
So let me approach it in a couple of different ways. First of all, let me tell you my thoughts on what we were doing there.
Yeah.
And then I'll tell you how I kind of got into it.
Okay.
The idea of around Board Stupid was snowboarding, right? And it was kind of snowboarding with snowboarding culture, but the producers didn't really know what that was.
Right.
They got a commission somehow, and those conversations happened before I was involved. But a commission to do this TV show around snowboarding and its culture.
Yeah.
But they didn't really know what either of those things were.
Okay.
You know, they were sports producers.
Yeah.
But I was at that time, you know, into music.
Yeah.
I had kind of London connections within that scene. I had connections within snowboarding. I had my own thoughts on what this culture was. Or there was an understanding of what this culture was to me.
Yeah.
And there was an opportunity to say, okay, well, look, this is what I think of it. Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Really. I mean, I was pretty young, so I didn't really, naive perhaps, if you like.
Yeah.
So there was no real there was nothing holding me back. I didn't really know what the rules were once again.
Yeah.
So I just thought, okay, well, I'm just going to do this. I got into it to answer the first question. I was out doing a season in Chamonix.
Were you part of like the Sham crew? Were you in the caravan?
So I was no.
I've heard a lot about the caravan recently.
Yeah, I let me tell, because if you ever see me in a caravan calling at home, give me a shake. That
It's not for you, is it?
It's not for me. I have nothing against people who live in caravans or make that choice.
Yeah,
it's not my game.
Okay.
I like hot water. I like central heating. I like a toilet you can flush properly.
That's nice.
Yeah. I don't ask so much.
Just that.
But yeah, it was with who was there? Pete Turvey, Justin Allison.
Yeah.
I don't know if his name's come up.
His name's hasn't come up. I've been talking to him. I'm trying to go down to Devon to see a few people.
Right.
So he's on the list.
He's a bit of a legend. He's got a great
total
story.
legend.
So Justin was there. Johnny Barr was there.
Yep.
James Stenterford was there. Tosh was there. I don't know. I mean, it was Matty Lowbridge was there. You know, there was a crew of people, a real crew of people who were snowboarders and were living it. You know,
good snowboarders as well.
Really good guys. You know, part of that. You know, let's help shape the scene. And I was out there. I'd ended up there. I actually, that wasn't the destination I was hoping for. I was supposed to be going to America.
All right.
Supposed to be going to Donna Summit. Is it Utah?
Donna Summit's California, isn't it?
Maybe. Up in that band of rock as well. But I got turned away at immigration at Minneapolis Airport.
Shit.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
What for?
Having dreadlocks and a skateboard under one arm and a snowboard under the other.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. That's pretty much it. I mean, it's a struggle to get into America every time I go.
Is it?
Because however many years ago I was kicked out. Not kicked out, just denied entry.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think it was visa problems or something like that.
Right.
Anyway,
okay.
So I went back home. I was like, fuck. You know, what do? I told everyone I was going over to America to, make my fortune or whatever nonsense I'd said. But then made a few calls. I think Johnny said, "Oh, I've got a floor you can sleep on."
Yeah.
So ended up there for the season, which was great. It's probably the best move. And so we did the season there, and I kind of came part of a different scene, if you like. I was writing, I was taking photos, a bit there, because I've always got a camera knocking around my person. Then I came back at the end of the season. In fact, I think I stowed away on the way back. Have you ever been a stowaway?
No. No, go on.
Well, it was just some...
What, onto the ferry?
Onto the ferry, yeah. We just
in the boot of a car or something?
Yeah.
Whose car?
I don't even know. I honestly don't even know whose car it was. But I was under some board bags and some stuff like this in the van.
Yeah.
Not even like a transit van, one of these kind of like plumber's van type things.
Yeah.
All the way back from Chamonix, and then when we got like a couple of miles outside Calais, it was just hid under all these things, and just got, because I couldn't afford a ticket, couldn't afford a boat ticket, so just I got dropped off at the side of the M20 or something like that. I have no idea. Felt like a proper immigrant. But I mean, I was illegal, but not an immigrant. So I came back. I came back home, went to stay with my mum, and I came back for a couple of months. I like, I can't be doing this. So got myself a flat in West London somewhere.
Nice.
Quite close to Kilburn, where I met
all these things.
Martin Brayton, on Brondesbury Road, a place on Brondesbury Road. And then I was doing this magazine, I think it was called Storm, which was...
Oh, I remember that. That's just triggered a memory.
Snowboarding.
Is that something to do with Low Pressure, the surf shop in West London?
It is. Yeah, it is. It was part of that West London kind of, they were Ladbroke Grove, I was Kilburn around the corner, so it was there. And I was writing, taking photos, trying to make a living. And we heard that there was this TV show. There'd been a pilot with a guy called Norman Anderson presenting, otherwise known as Normski, who'd done this seminal TV series called Dance Energy. Yeah. Which is probably another link that you want to put on the...
Yeah. I'll definitely write that down. I'll type.
Quite something. Another really talented and underrated photographer. Did loads of great imagery of Public Enemy, the Beastie Boys, Errol Cool J when they were over here, all like early UK hip hop. I mean, fantastic photographer.
Yeah.
Quite a catalogue of that kind of early time. So he was being brought on as a presenter.
Yeah.
For this pilot. He didn't know anything about snowboarding at all. And the producers didn't really know anything about snowboarding. What he did know is youth culture. Yeah. Because he was going out with a woman
Janet Street Porter,
Janet Street Porter, who was head of the BBC youth programming or something at the time. Although this was the Channel 4 thing, he was connected with that kind of underground music and fashion culture. So they brought him on, but he didn't know anything about snowboarding. We'd gone in there, me and another person gone in there. A girl was selling the advertised, a girl called Suzanne Elaine. We'd gone into the producers to say, look, we're doing this magazine. Can we get the magazine in the show?
Yeah.
Because it'd been commissioned for a series. And they came in and they chatted to me, and I think they got a whiff of I knew a little bit about snowboarding. And they said, oh, we're gonna do an interview with a couple of snowboarders on Saturday or Sunday. Do you know these people? And I think it was Johnny Barr and James Stenterford. And I was like, yeah, I've just been living with them for the last 3 or 4 months. So they're like, oh, great, do you want to come and do it? So what to do is I asked them some questions. Okay. So it turned up, I think we did the interview, someone, St. Martin's Lane near Trafalgar Square.
Yep, nice.
Just interviewed them on camera, made it up.
Yep.
And they said, great. Then I thought that was it. And then they said, what are you doing next week? And I said, nothing. I think I was claiming dole at the time. income support, for those who don't know what that is.
Good old days.
And they said, "Oh, what are you doing next week?" I said, "Nothing. I want to come to Switzerland." I was like, "Yeah, sure, why not?" So I went to Switzerland, went up the mountain. Normski was there. They gave me a mic and said, "Kind of off you go. We're making TV show. This is the presenter. You can just be the other guy."
The straight man.
Yeah, I guess so. The one who could hold it down.
The Sid Little.
Sid Little snowboarding.
There you go. There's your legacy right there.
On the side of my car. Nice. And then it just kind of transpired that then I was by default a presenter.
Yeah.
On the TV show. It's never something that I was looking to do. It was never something that I was, aiming for or anything like that. It was, here you go, Phil, you're now the presenter of a TV show. I was like, sure, why not? Got nothing better to do. Do what? Is my job now to travel the world and interview people about snowboarding whilst going in snowboarding in various exotic places? They went, yes. I'm like, yeah, I'm in.
Yeah, you're not going to turn that. You're not going to turn that job down, are you?
No, and I get paid for it. Great. And we got the music from James Lavelle. He'd just set up Mowax, the trip hop label.
Yeah.
So I think the first series was all music from DJ Shadow, the Introducing album.
Yeah. That's so sick.
It was great, and at that moment in time, that style of music was, it's one of the newest musics that had emerged.
Yeah.
That was great. So we had all this kind of trip hop. We took bands on there. Part of the show, people hadn't seen it. It was like we would bring bands to the mountains and have them perform live.
Yeah.
So we would have Attica Blues, which were part of the OVAC stable. Charlie Dark, still a good friend of mine. Charlie Dark, NBE, poet, rapper, DJ, producer, run leader now. We had him over. We had Ronnie Size and the Represent crew come over, the whole Bristol drum and bass set somewhere up in Switzerland. We had Misha Paris come over, Prodigy. I was snowboarding with the Prodigy. I mean, they were good snowboarders.
Yeah, I want to talk to that. I want to try and get hold of
those guys. Liam Howlett. So, I mean, they're really lovely guys.
Are they?
Is obviously a real tragedy about him.
Yeah.
Came across as a wild man. Absolutely not. Such a lovely man, such a lovely human.
Have you heard the story that anytime he went to light a fire in his house and someone said, "You're the fire starter," he'd put £1 in a jar, and then when it was full, he'd give it to a local charity?
There you go. I mean, they were Essex boys.
Yeah.
So really humble, made dance music. I mean, I used to go clubbing. There used to be a club in Braintree called the Barn.
Right.
And I was living in Saffron Walden at the time. This would be.
Were you?
Yeah. That's where
I know Saffron Walden quite well. My wife Lucy's from up that way.
Is she really?
Yeah, she's from.
I went to secondary school. The last 3 years of secondary school I went to in Saffron Walden. That school is no longer there.
No way.
And my mum still lives there. So I used to do a lot of my raving days.
Okay.
Going
out. It's countryside.
Yes, it's countryside. And they were, they were Braintree boys. I don't even know Braintree. I think they were probably Felsted or Thaxted or Dunmow or something like that, Yeah. It just made it big in electronic music. So we had those guys on. Yeah. Beth Orton was there.
Oh, I remember that. I loved that album. That first album of hers on her own, and then she did that track with the Chemical Brothers. That was
I mean, she's an interesting one. Who else do we have on? Courtney Pine. Like big names.
Yeah.
Who would come out and go snowboarding, or not even go snowboarding, just go up into the mountains. A lot of people, especially some of the some of the black artists that we had out had never been into the mountains.
Yeah.
So what was really good there was to be able to bring new communities out and see this incredible place. And if you think about it, it was me and Normski, two people of colour, presenting a snowboarding show, which, you know, on paper you would, in those days, was like,
on paper for that time, it obviously there's a lot of talk about diversity at the moment. When I was out in Lax recently, there was the Technically Doing It crew, and they did a talk and, you know, chatting with Neil Campbell and stuff like that. And then we were talking about it, and it's like, actually, in the UK we had Bored Stupid, which was, you know, almost entirely that. All those years ago, it's crazy to think.
It was so ahead of its game.
Yeah.
And in the music that we had as part of it, as how we presented snowboarding, because there was that skateboarding crossover that we had and the surfing crossover. There was a cultural street scene in there, because that's who we were. Right? We weren't people who were brought up in the mountains.
But I think that's it was obviously the time it went out on a Sunday morning, when the culture at the time was, you go out Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday morning, you're going to be lying in someone's flat, a bunch of you hungover, watching the TV. And, you know, and then what you're seeing on the screen and the music it's being presented with just, I think, made it really, really accessible for loads of people. Like, everyone you talk to remembers Bored Stupid. Like, everyone of our generation remembers Bored Stupid as part of the reason why they got into it, or why they sort of threw themselves more into it than just a casual kind of, I go once a year or whatever. It became that becomes your lifestyle, and it gave an identity to that. It's like, here's all the music that you can listen to, here's these guys doing it, they look like you, off you go.
It's very much, you know, because to what you were saying earlier about your introduction to DJing, right, is that here is all of a sudden the what was traditionally a ski world of downhill racing and slalom. All of a sudden, the mountains are now something different. Yeah, we're saying, actually, it can be anything. Yeah, like there's people here with weird coloured hair, or going in places, acting in a different type of way, with music that I identify with, and an attitude which is totally left field of what mountain culture was. And that was appealing. That was really appealing to people, and made people think, oh shit, if these guys are out there doing it, you know, this black guy with a twangy Essex accent is out there and can get down a mountain, then surely I can. You know, surely I can do that. And it made it think, damn, right, this is a whole different ballgame now. Yeah. And you're right. I mean, I still get people. I mean, it's a giveaway when someone comes up to me and says, "Did you do that Bored Stupid show?" I'm like, okay, I know how old you are. Yeah.
They've just said everything about them.
Yeah, but you know, I think we had it for 4 seasons, I think, and I still get people to this day coming up to me and saying, your show got me into snowboarding. Yeah. And it changed my life. Yeah. That before then, I was doing whatever, 9 to 5, working as an accountant, estate agent, something like that. I saw the show, I quit it, got into snowboarding, and now I run a successful business in the mountains, or, you know, it's my life. And it's been a gateway to a whole different way of seeing the world. It was I'm thankful and, you know, fortunate, and I find it an honor to have been found myself in a position where I was able to do that.
And one of the cool things about it, which I think I've been talking to somebody else about this recently, but I can't think who, the fact that it did show some competitions, it showed the half pipe and things like that, but kind of now when you see snowboarding on TV, like it's on Ski Sunday, brilliant, massive mainstream audience, but it's all about competition. And, really the win for snowboarding is going with your mates or doing a season. And that's what Board Stupid really celebrated, was the act of doing it and the culture around it, rather than, we're going to show you someone who's ridiculously talented and has had the right opportunities put in front of them, and now they're achieving something on a world stage. I mean, that in itself is amazing. There's certainly people from this country, like they got the odds stacked against them, or they certainly would have had in the past. But the win for snowboarding is the act of going snowboarding and celebrating with your mates with a beer or whatever after riding, and hitting small little side hits and pissing around. That's the win. That's the success in snowboarding, as I see it.
It is for me. That's not to undermine people who do it in a different way.
No, not at all.
There is obviously, there is value in competition.
Yeah.
And, who wouldn't want, given the opportunity, to stand on the biggest sporting stage and be given a medal?
100%.
The dedication to do something like that is admirable. It isn't for me. I mean, I spent a few years, and I quit actually end of last year, as the chair of snowboarding for GB Snow Sports.
Oh, really? I didn't know you'd done that.
I quit for a number of different reasons. Number one, a health issue that we can get into later.
Right.
Number two, because I challenged them quite a lot on their diversity values.
Yep.
And lack thereof.
Right.
But fundamentally, number three is that I just didn't agree with the fact that we're just trying to get people from different countries to represent GB just so that we can win a medal.
Yeah.
The kind of armchair politics of it all.
Yeah.
You can say, hey, look, we've got some soft power because we've beaten another nation, because we've plucked someone from France whose grandmother was British, and we've put them in a position. That's not to say that the British snowboarders were like that, but some of them have come from other countries, and we're like, oh, that person's good, and we can probably get them a British passport. Let's push someone out of the way who might want to, represent the country and was born in, I don't know, Hampshire or whatever.
Yeah.
But here's someone else that can that has more chance of winning a medal for us. And the way that they were shifting money around, I thought, I just can't, I can't justify my time because it's a free thing.
Yeah.
For all of the above. So now I think, someone who's way smarter than me and understands it, Leslie McKenna, has taken over the reins. She was my vice chair. She's now the chair. And I'd like to think that the wealth of knowledge and understanding of how the politics of snowboarding, if you like, operates will put her in good stead to actually be able to make some kind of, have some influence and have some change from a UK and maybe from a more global perspective. But for me, that kind of win at all costs.
Yeah.
Let's bend the rules if we can. And hats off to someone like Mia Brooks, right, who's head and shoulders above any other snowboarding talent really that we've ever had in the UK, represents, but also goes, yeah, fine, I'm just going to do this as well my own way, and I'm going to be part of that, have fun, and not really bend to the rules of this whole ski snowboarding thing. Snowboarding, anyway, for me, is a separate thing from slalom skiing, right?
Yeah,
but
100%.
It all sits in the same thing for GB Sports. And that was, even just on the Instagram, you got someone doing a turn, and then someone in the air, and then some guys in skin suits doing kind of cross country, and it's all part of the same thing, and it clearly isn't.
No.
And it didn't really work for me from a cultural perspective.
Yeah, I understand that completely.
But hey, look, you know, there's probably a lot smarter people than me out there that would disagree. But.
Well, no, I mean, you know, like I've always been quite protective of snowboarding, probably to my detriment sometimes, but it's a special thing and you can't just give it away.
For sure. I'm also conscious that, you know, we can't be gatekeepers.
No.
There's people out there who've got a totally different view of snowboarding. In fact, like, you know,
fuck them.
Yeah, fuck them. We're right. And it's funny when we were talking, you know, a couple of weeks back, and I was supposed to be going to Japan.
That's right.
That didn't happen for you know, a number of different reasons. But I was just working. We just put the edit to bed for that, and that was a film shoot, because that's kind of the stuff I do now. I kind of work the other side of the camera.
Yeah.
And there's a guy there that we were working with, a guy called Taro, who runs a snowboard company called Gem Sticks.
Yeah, I've heard of them.
Yeah, and we've done the edit with him, and we're going to do an interview for a blog with him. But the conversations that I've had with him, and he's very much, you know, he's in Hokkaido.
Yep.
So is it Niseko? Was it Niseki?
Niseko.
Niseko. So that's where he's like powder capital of the world.
Yeah.
And he doesn't leave the ground either. He goes surfing, he goes fly fishing, he makes snowboards and rides brilliant powder. And for him, it's about the connection with the mountain and with the earth. Yeah. And he makes boards to ride deep powder and to feel as though it's part of the mountain. The amount of spins he can do in the air, he does not give a flying fuck about. It's no interest to him. For him, snowboarding is about the soul and the connection with nature and your surroundings, and being aware of it, which is why I think, you know, splitboarding has taken off in the way that it has, because you know, it's probably cliched, but you know, you earn your turns, right? Is that you go up and you understand the snow, you can smell things, you can hear things, you can touch things. It's like, let's get up, let's get down, let's get up, you know, it's about appreciating the environment and what it offers you, and the community that you can have, and the relationship that you can have on the way up. And I think age probably has got something to do with that.
I think so. I think there's been our generation that has kind of gone into that, but then I think there's a generation following along now. It seems to be getting to the age of seasons and all that sort of thing. I think there's another crop coming on, which I think is quite interesting. So it's not all about splitboarding. There's going to be some.
What's your view on
loose on splitboarding?
No, just on what that new generation is.
I think it's really interesting. I've seen quite a lot of people. John from Dragon Lodge was saying it as well. Yeah. He's seen a lot more young people kind of turning up for seasons with snowboard bags, and like, although, you know, probably the days of doing a season and just sort of saving up some money and doing it are gone. There are kids turning up to get jobs to basically go snowboarding as much as they can. I think there's another generation, and I certainly hope so. I'd hate for snowboarding to become an old sport. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's always been slightly for the privileged, right? I mean, I love the fact that, you know, like white guys used to call it fees and rich kids. Yeah, right? Which I think is brilliant. Yeah. I don't know whether that was Matt Barr or Chris Moran or Ed Lee that came up with that one, but they hit the nail right on the head with that, didn't they?
Yeah, totally.
And I think more than likely though, it's just rich kids these days, because you can't do it cheaply so easily. I mean, Brexit means that you can't spend that amount of time out there unless you've got like a EU passport, or you're getting sponsored somehow?
Well, I think, again, this is something somebody recently was telling me, that a lot of the bigger companies, they'll do the work to get you a visa.
Right.
They're obviously so struggling for staff that they'll actually kind of do all the admin to get you out there for the whole season. So I think it is possible, but you have to have a job, basically.
Yeah, you couldn't go out like we used to. It's like
No.
what happens with a black bag of records around your shoulder and saying, "Okay, here I am."
That magical first day when you arrive and you know that you haven't got anything to do but snowboard for the next 5 months.
Wonder how you're going to afford to do it.
It used to cost fuck all. It was cheaper than staying at home.
I remember I was saying the other day, because I just booked a holiday yesterday, actually,
Right.
to go out next week, or not this week, a week tomorrow, to go out to, was it Madonna di Campiago?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think so.
just with my partner. And the lift pass, I think, is 320 quid, which isn't massive for the week if you compare it to somewhere like America.
Yeah.
But I remember you get a season pass of 500 quid.
Yeah.
I mean, crazy. Right?
I remember DJing in Selfridges in the Levi's concession
Okay.
on a Saturday afternoon for 4 hours, I think I played, and I got paid basically almost exactly the same as my Les Arcs ski pass. I was like, I've earned my season pass in an afternoon of DJing. This might be as good as it ever gets.
Amazing.
But yeah, when, you know, a season pass was like 500 quid, that was, how could you not?
Yeah, and we used to have amazing times in those, you know, so when it didn't matter and it was all a bit loose. It was all a bit loose. I think it's a bit tighter.
I think so.
Tighter now.
How are we doing for time? Are you all right for time?
I'm good, man. Good,
all right,
yeah.
Sweet. Let's carry on then. What did you do after Board Stupid? Because you sort of became less visible around the scene. I didn't see you around as much. But I'd bump into you. I remember bumping into you, and I think you'd just had a kid. Bumping into you on the South Bank one Sunday morning or something, out for a walk.
Maybe, yeah, quite possibly.
So I used to sort of see you when I was living in London. Like, I'd bump into you in sort of random places. But in terms of like the scene, you weren't around. But I knew you were sort of doing things, but more on a sort of back office kind of vibe.
Well, no, I mean, I had a TV career for another 10 years.
Doing?
Well, I used to do the Free Sports on 4 thing. So,
oh, right, I never watched it.
So I did commentary for a while. And so in the commentary, who did I get to do it with me? Got Sasha Ham.
Oh my God. There's no way you could have Sasha Ham.
That was just the one.
You'd just be telling everybody that they're shit. Oh, that guy's shit.
I mean, that was hilarious. That was for Eurosport.
I'd like to find that.
It was just the one. And then I got, actually, I think I probably gave Ed Lee his first gig.
Ah, interesting.
On commentary.
Yeah.
So I used to get Ed Lee to come up and do some commentary with me. And I think maybe Tim might have got Tim Woolwood to do it. I can't remember.
Would you have used Christian?
Christian, I think they didn't want an American accent on,
I get that.
on there. Yeah. But what Tim, Ed, and myself then ended up doing was his Free Sports on 4, like strands, which was I think it was the same kind of slot as the Board Stupid thing.
Yeah.
Which we did for a number of years. But it was surfing, skateboarding, mountain biking, BMX, and so we would do. I mean, I did traveled the world with that show.
Wow.
So I was doing mountain biking through the favelas of Rio in Brazil. We went surfing in Chopu in Tahiti, out in the lineup with pretty mental. Snowboarding in South America, all on Channel 4 time. In fact, I think they were sponsored a lot of the time. So a brand would do an event, and the production company say, well, we'll get your event on Channel 4 in front of 1 million people. Give us some money, and we'll go out and shoot it for you. You'll make a TV show for it. So that was the way they used to run it.
Yeah.
And that lasted for a long time.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so that was Free Sports. In fact, we won 2 BAFTAs for that.
Where'd you keep them?
Well, good question. Well, actually, first of all, they're Welsh BAFTAs. So they look the same, but it has a C in front of it. So it's Crimew BAFTA or something like that. So the first one, I think the production company...
You're going to get shit for how you've just pronounced Cymru, you know that.
Cymru, yeah. Look, apologies.
Shout out to all our Welsh cousins.
Apologies. I mean, I go to Wales all the time, but I'm not...
Yeah, I was listening to Goldie Looking Chain yesterday.
Some of my best friends are Welsh, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, you lost me. So one of the one the production company got. The second one, we lost on the night. We actually lost it. It's up on stage. We got this BAFTA. Put it down. What the fuck's that? I think we ended up taking somebody else's. We just grabbed another one and go, I've got it. Let's go.
That works. If everybody does that, then it sort of forms a circle and everyone goes home happy, don't they?
I can't remember if it had our name on it or something like that. I don't know. Either way, I don't have it. I don't know where it went. I think I might have a picture of me with it. But those kind of things, it's great to have the accolade to say that you won a couple of BAFTAs, but I don't really need more shit. Got to be at my house. Do you know what I mean?
More things to catch dust.
That's exactly what it would be. End up in the garden as an ornament or something like that. So I did that. I did that for quite a long time. But the whole of the TV thing lent me into actually trying to understand how brands operate. Yeah. When I was, from the early days, when I was doing Broad Stupid, I'd often get to do asked to do voiceovers. Right. So I do TV commercial voiceovers and stuff. So you'd get brands coming in and saying, "Oh, we want to do something with skateboarding or snowboarding. Can you talk about this? Can you talk about that?" And I'd actually chat to the brand managers or the comms director and try and understand what they were looking to achieve and how they were going about doing it, and realise a lot of the time they had no idea.
Of course they don't.
So I would help them a little bit to shape their strategy and their implementation and activation.
Then that became your career, didn't it, I suppose?
Yeah, I kind of fell into that again. And I just said, "Oh, well, look, can you help us do this event or that event?" And like, okay, so without any formal training, I would just end up working with various different brands. Yeah. And it's kind of fallen into, I guess, a broader marketing role, but touches on like content directing, production, strategic work. Is
it still around like action sports and things, or have you gone?
When I can do it, it is at the moment. The kind of projects I'm working on at the moment. So I do, I guess, what you'd call an ECD, which is a bit of a
ECD. What the hell is that?
It's an executive creative director.
Okay, sounds good.
Well, it sounds great. It sounds like makes you if you turn up to and
sounds
say,
like you can add a zero to the cost of anything.
If you turn up and say you're an executive creative director, people turn around and say, "Well, a cunt, you mean?" Oh yeah, you're one of them. So I try not to use it, but I guess that's kind of what I do. Is that I oversee various different projects, and we've got the Japanese project that I was just talking about. That's for Gore-Tex, the brand Gore-Tex.
Yeah.
So we we got the agency I'm part of. We manage. We're the creative agency for Gore-Tex globally.
I mean, they're smashing, aren't they? Because like they are basically all snowboarding clothing is sort of Gore-Tex now, isn't it?
I mean,
a lot of it.
The good stuff. The good stuff is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's.
No, but I've seen the Burton line for next season, and most of it's Gore-Tex, I think.
I mean, it's you know, obviously, I'm fairly close to the brand, but it works.
Yeah.
You know, if you want to be up a mountain that's going to be cold and wet and windy, you want to be dry and warm and comfortable.
Yeah.
And out of all the products I've used, Gore-Tex works. The only time you think about it is when you haven't got it on, right?
Yeah.
Because we've all been cold and wet, and it's not comfortable. So it works. Not cheap, but if you look after it, it'll last you. I mean, I've got Gore-Tex stuff that's lasted me years. Look after it.
Yeah. Well, this is one of those, you know, like when in the sort of debate about the cost of snowboarding, how like expensive, you know, like a jacket costing 350 quid isn't even a bat of an eyelid now. Whereas it used to be like, fucking hell, someone's bought out a 350 quid jacket, they're punching pretty hard. Whereas, but at the same time, if it's going to last you 10 years and it's going to work really well, you know, it's not that much, you know, like it's relative is what I'm saying. It's still expensive, but you're getting something that's going to last you a lot longer time than.
Well, it's cost effective, right?
Yeah.
You're going to be comfortable for that amount of time, and you don't have to buy it every season.
Yeah.
That's got to be the way forward, especially if you're looking about sustainability issues and
exactly.
fast fashion. Why would you want to buy something to chuck it away and buy another thing? Where's that thing going?
Yeah.
Probably not biodegradable. It's just going into landfill and probably going into the ocean and polluting us all. So, you know, if you can afford it, and obviously that's a concern for people, is the cost of things. But there's a great secondhand market because if you look after something and you can revitalize these things, they can have second lives. People get a tear or it wets through and they think, oh, it's done. It probably isn't. You probably just need to wash it and put it in the tumble dryer and it will be as good as new again. And if it's got a tear in it, you can get those things repaired quite easily. Look at a brand like Patagonia. Yeah. If you buy something, they'll repair it for free.
Yeah.
You send it off 2 or 3 weeks back, it'll come back good as new, you know, because that's the only way. And, you know, the whole contradiction about these sports is we're all in the natural environment and stuff. We're getting in lifts that are polluting the environment. We're getting on planes that are polluting the environment. We're wearing essentially jackets that are made out of plastic bags, the production of which are polluting the environment and don't biodegrade.
Yeah.
So anything we can do to minimize the impact that we have on our playground is a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, is that how you square it? Obviously, working in marketing is the art of selling stuff. And how do you then square that with, you know, the idea that people should buy less and consume less?
Well, I don't. My money doesn't come from whether people buy lots of product.
Right.
Thankfully, it's about the perception people have on that product.
Yeah.
And you've got to look at these things with eyes wide open. There's people who want to make a profit, right? But at what cost? And I think the majority of brands these days realize that, you know, continuous growth is hard to achieve.
Yeah.
Over the long term, because it has to max out somewhere.
Yeah.
And how much is enough, I guess. You know, how do you have a business and grow and make money whilst saving the planet? It's a tough one.
Yeah.
Get more people into snowboarding, get people to look after their equipment longer. The more people, I think, an argument is that, you know, more people you've got in nature and who've got an emotional connection to nature, the more likely they are to look after it in the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
If you've got people in the city who don't know about the mountains, why do they give a fuck that the glaciers are retreating?
Yeah, I mean, I was just thinking exactly about that point. I mean, I saw, was it a couple of years ago? I remember posting it, and Matt Barr came back and was like, "Are you all right?" Because I'd seen a picture of the Teen Glacier, which is a place where, you know, in the summer we'd go, there'd be half pipes, there'd be kickers on the lower section of it as well, and you'd go there and it was brilliant and you have great times. And then I saw this photo and the whole thing from the top just looked like this grey mess, and it's like, fuck, that's happened in a really short space of time. And I care about it. Even though I'm not in the mountains, I still give a shit. So yeah, as you're saying, like, getting people who aren't necessarily from the mountains to experience them will then care more.
Yeah, and where, you know, the hard facts and hard truth of the matter is that even though we're seeing the glaciers retreating and we're part of the reason that that's happening, we're not going to stop going snowboarding, are we?
Well, I hope not. I mean, again, it's a similar thing. Like me and John O'Verity, when we were out in Teen, like early season, we were like, the world doesn't need us to be here. Like, we don't need to be in the mountains going snowboarding. It's a very privileged position to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But at the same time, on a personal level, I need to go snowboarding. It's such a part of my life that I can't really function after a while if I don't.
No, but you can. It's selfish, and you do it because it gives you pleasure.
Yeah.
And if we can do it, we will still carry on doing it because we still carry on getting pleasure. The only way we won't do it is if it's taken away from us, and we will still be fine because we'll find something else. But until that happens, we're going to go. So that's a reality.
Yeah.
If we care enough about the planet, we wouldn't fly. We wouldn't buy jackets made out of plastic. We wouldn't go on lifts. You know, we might just go running in barefoot around the woods. Not viable. Not going to happen. That box has been opened.
Yeah.
So if we acknowledge all of that, what can we do to actually reduce our impact?
Yeah.
I think it's the only way forward, because otherwise we're lying to ourselves because we love it too much. And like I say, we're selfish. You know, and we're going to still get in our cars and go down the shops and, you know, get in a plane because we want to go on holiday because it's too cold in the winter here or whatever. You know, but we just all the other stuff that we can do.
Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, that's kind of what I do now. You know, make documentaries, do a lot of stuff in diversity as well. You know, on that point is getting people of colour really out into the outdoors so that they can, like I say, give a damn about if you're brought up 3 generations deep of people saying don't go to the countryside because it's racist or whatever. That's your view of it, and you won't go there. So I try and persuade via various different methods and lenses to get, I guess, diversity in outdoor spaces. So I've set up, I didn't set them up myself, but I guess, what would you say, co-founder of something called Alto, which is opening up the outdoors. So that's got supported by Arc'teryx, Patagonia, North Face, Viva Barefoot, Salomon, you know, all these big brands to actually try and make community groups sustainable in getting, you know, diverse communities in the outdoors, and you know, got into running over the last few years because I can hardly walk.
Yeah. Why would be my question.
I don't know.
I fucking hate running.
Well, I do. In fact, I was out running last night, but I go to this running club around the corner from me called Gypsy Hill Running Club. Yeah. Primarily because it starts and finishes at a brewery, at the Gypsy Hill Brewery. Nice. It's at the end of my road. And when you get back from the run, there's jugs of beer waiting for you that they give you free. So that's really my motivation there. And was a co-founder of something called Black Trail Runners,
right.
which, I mean, it does what it says on the tin, so you can kind of guess what that does. But that's been really successful, and there's got lots of new people into running that you wouldn't necessarily have decided to go there.
Yeah.
In the first instance, so it's a lot of that kind of business that's going on at the moment. Diversity, making film, working with brands, trying to get the odd snowboarding trip in occasionally.
And did you have something to do with the whole Nike thing as well?
No, you're right. They were a client of mine for a long time. So we worked on the surf program, worked with SB, worked on the snowboarding program. I mean, one of the classic, I mean, what exemplifies the money that they had within snowboarding is that we worked on a project called the Chosen Sessions, the Chosen series,
right.
Which was an event in every country in Europe and America, where it was a freestyle session, and the winner of each country would come to Montafon in Austria to have like this big comp of some description, and find it as an edit that I produced and directed for the launch of this.
Okay.
And at the end of it, the camera zooms out. There was an early drone that we had. The camera pulls out. There's an 80-meter snow swoosh there, which outrageous. It's like
budget.
We had to move snow from the season before.
No way.
Yeah, just so that we had enough to produce this thing.
Holy shit!
It was incredible. It was an incredible week of snowboarding there. But yeah, it's a shame that the Nike program didn't work.
Did they just overestimate how much money they might have been able to make out of snowboarding?
I don't think really that it was ever about making money within snowboarding.
Right.
Clearly, they don't want to be losing too much money. But they had surfing, they had snowboarding, skateboarding did really well. They've cut their budgets on skateboarding.
Have they?
But they were kind of loss leaders, right? Is that if you have this brand that can create sexy stuff in this field, in this field, in this field, it's brand marketing.
Yeah.
Like it percolates down, doesn't it? It's like, okay, all the cool skateboarders are wearing Nike. So maybe when I go into JD Sports, whether I skateboard or not, I might buy some Nike.
Yeah.
Snowboarders are doing cool shit and they're wearing swoosh on their boots or on their jacket. It might influence my spending habits.
Yeah.
And there was a guy called Sandy, I think, Sandy Bodega. He instigated the whole of the action sports move for Nike. He's no longer with us, and whoever came in said, "Okay, look, we're gonna scrap this and do something else, put our money elsewhere." But it was great while it lasted.
Yeah, I bet it was.
All the skateboarding stuff we did. I mean, Bay 66. I don't know if you know Bay. It used to be called the PlayStation.
Oh, the old skate park under the Westway.
Yeah. So when we got the Nike contract, one of the requests was let's build a London skate park, and there wasn't really any space to do it. So we went to Paul over at Bay 60 or PlayStation at the time, and said we want to redo your skate park. So we ripped it all out. And put it all back in, put a cafe, put a store.
Oh, right.
Everything. It was a great project.
Yeah, that sounds sick.
But people are still, we did that you're talking about Selfridges. You see the bowl in Selfridges. I don't know if you've been to that.
No, I haven't been to that.
That was a project I did with a guy called Adam Brinkworth,
right?
Who does. He's got a design agency. Yeah. Once again, it's a brand, Selfridges. We want to do something that brings skate culture and street culture and high fashion together. We want to do it around skateboarding. What can you do? So we came up with this idea of, this sculpture that was skateable, like this kind of beautiful egg that looks great, and then you open the door and you can skateboard in it, and you can see it from Oxford Street. Worked really well. Yeah. So it's a similar kind of thing. Is that through the power of skateboarding and snowboarding, and surfing used to have it, but they've fucked it, I think. You can really make an influence, because going back to my previous comments, there are no rules. There shouldn't be any rules.
Yeah.
So you can do pretty much what you want within that.
Yeah.
Skatable sculptures. Rich Holland does that over in where is he? Over in Umeå in Sweden.
Right.
Creates these beautiful civic structures that you can sit on, that you can look at, that blend in with the environment, but that you can also skate on.
No way.
Which makes it, there's so much. There's no, you can do anything within these sports, and I think what I'd like to think that brands can take the risks to be able to do things that sit outside the normal and the everyday, but it becomes harder, I think, doesn't it?
But I guess that's that's probably where you shine, though, isn't it? Convincing them that these things have worked before, they can work again. You can do pretty crazy things, and it will do what they need it to do.
Yeah, if the person who's holding the purse strings is brave enough to take a risk.
Yeah.
On some dude who used to go out raving in a barn in Essex. That's the challenge.
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
Well, fake it till you make it, Phil.
Yeah. All right.
I think you're doing better than most. Sorry?
Are we done, or we got more?
No, there's just a couple of things that I always ask.
Okay, yeah, go on.
They're the important things.
Yeah.
Well, to stop it just being a nostalgia fest, we have to move things forward a little bit. So, on that, thinking about like your life in snowboarding, which is an extremely long time, like how can you sum up what snowboarding means to you?
Ooh. Can I sum it up?
Yeah.
I mean, snowboarding has really helped shape me as a person. It's given me a perspective, I think, on nature and on the world, on beauty, on the vastness. Being up in the mountains is vast, and it's humbling. And I think, yes, I've had fun, and I've hurt myself, and I've met incredible people. But what it's done for me really is give me a perspective of who I am and what I am in the world. When you ride down the Vallée Blanche off the Aiguille de Midi in Chamonix, you realise how insignificant you are, and you can be snuffed out at any minute with a wrong turn. And there's helicopters up and down there pulling people out of holes all the time, or not. People disappear down holes. And what that does is gives me anyway a sense of, well, if I'm so insignificant on the grand scheme, the fact that, I don't know, the back door is creaking isn't really a big issue. The fact that someone at work has got the ump with you because you got a different opinion to them doesn't really matter. You know, it's allowed me to not sweat the small things.
Yeah.
You know, snowboarding is about freedom. It's about creativity, and it's about being close to nature. And it's given me a perspective on life that otherwise I don't think I would have had. And having that allows me to go through the rest of my life with a certain ease, whereby things that may have worried me, that things may worry me more if I didn't have snowboarding. You know, hey, look, I know you spoke to Duncan Carr, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, the other day, and who's I think he's in remission with
yeah, he's just been given the all clear, hasn't he?
Yeah, so I had cancer.
I didn't know that.
No, well, not many people do. I've not really advertised it. So I had it. I had an operation over Christmas.
Shit, I didn't know that because I spoke to you just before Christmas, didn't I?
Yeah, for sure. But what I you know, and I'm fine. I had an operation and they got rid of it, and I'm running and I'm cycling and I'm going snowboarding next week, and I was in Munich and I went to Boggin. You know, I mean, I'm fine. You know, but I've through snowboarding, I've seen so much, and I've met so many incredible people, and I've been to so many amazing places that I think, okay, well, you know, I had this illness, I had this disease, but I was at peace with it.
Right.
You know, I was really like, okay, I wasn't in any pain, so it's non-symptomatic, so it's hard for me to say how it might have been if it wasn't. But knowing it, I was like, well, okay, that's fine. But if it is really bad, I've done all right. Yeah. You know, I've got a lot out of my life up until this point. So if it does get worse, I'm content.
Okay.
And a lot of that is down to being at the top of the mountain and seeing a powder field below me and blue sky around me, you know, and that's true. I mean, it sounds corny, but it's true. Yeah. You know, not everyone has been in a position to be able to benefit from that, which is why, you know, any opportunity that I can get to take someone up a mountain, I would take them, because it gives you a perspective that it's hard to have in the city.
Okay. Well, on that then, so the last question is, what would you say to someone who has let the dust settle on their snowboarding for a few years, or who has never been? Why should they be why should they go snowboarding?
Yeah, well, there was in the 90s, there was a brand called Vision Streetwear.
Yep.
And I think it's been bought and sold a few times.
Yeah, I think so, hasn't it?
Yeah, but it was in the 90s. It was a seminal skateboard brand.
Yeah.
And they had a sticker that I'll never forget, and it had Vision Skateboards, and it said underneath, "Don't die wondering." You know, life is short, but there's an awful lot to experience out there, and a lot of it is amazing. Snowboarding is one of those amazing things. If you have the opportunity to go to the mountains, even if you don't go snowboarding, but to go to the mountains and to be up the top of the mountains, you should take it. And if you've got a snowboard that's, like you say, gathering dust, or is in the garage, or you look at fondly and go, oh, I remember those days. If you can afford to do it, you should do it, because you're not going to go there and come back with regret. You're going to come back thinking, why has it taken me so long to go snowboarding? Why have I let this slide for so long? No pun intended. You know, it's one of those things that, you know, life gets in the way, sometimes, doesn't it, of things, and you forget what's important. There is, if you come back from snowboarding, and it's like when you go running, right? And no one likes running. People claim that they do. I go running, I don't like it. But when you come back from running, you feel good. There's no such thing as a bad run. You always feel good. And that's running around kind of Brixton in Crystal Palace. If you can do this creative exercise where you can go front side, go back side, you can go backwards, you can go through various different mediums of snow, you can do it with friends, you can whoop, you can laugh, you can cry, you can challenge yourself, and you can see, you know, the amazing, spectacular beauty of the mountains. You're not going to come back and say that was shit. No. You might say, I didn't perform as well as I would like to, but you're not going to come back and say it was shit, because it isn't. It's amazing. Yeah. So if you do have a dusty snowboard lying around the house or the attic, book a holiday. If you can afford it, book a holiday. Even if it's for a few days, even if it's a shitty old place. You know, the lastminute.com, or, you know, book it now.
Yeah.
You won't regret it.
Okay, we're there.
All right, well done.
One last thing, though, which I don't normally put on, is have you got, well, I hope you have, a tune from a snowboard movie that will be your intro?
Oh, it'll be my intro.
That will. What's a tune that sums it up for you? Or like a memorable snowboard section, you're just like, yeah, that fucking does it for me. That lights me up like a Christmas tree.
You know what I'm going to say? You're not going to like it, because it's not snowboarding, it's skateboarding.
That's fine. I make exceptions for certain skateboarding things.
Okay, but for me, this happened at a similar time as me getting into snowboarding. Okay. So that's kind of a mixture, but it was, and interestingly, it's not a genre of music that I necessarily listen to. Okay. You know, it's who is it by? There's an old Santa Cruz movie. I think it's Streets on Fire.
Okay.
With a skateboarder called Natas Kalpas.
Yeah.
And this is like a street skater that kind of defines early street skateboarding, wall rides, ollies, handrails, that kind of stuff. Yeah. And there's a track called I think it's Brave Captain
by Firehose.
By Firehose.
I've got it on 12.
Have you really?
I fucking have as well. Because I was putting something together for the TSA, and I just went on Discogs and got loads and loads of, like, because that was in Snowboarders in Exile.
Okay, well, there you go.
And I've got it here. It's over there somewhere.
Oh, there you go. You can use that.
Yeah, man. Fucking sick. Yeah, that's industry approved, that is. That's snowboarding approved.
Great. Because it is, like I say, it's not really the genre, but it means so much to me.
Yeah.
It's energy. I've got this picture in my head of Natas doing this. I don't know, he's ollied up onto a fire hydrant and he's spinning around
on it.
on the thingy. And that is on my cycling. I do a lot of cycling. That's on my cycling playlist.
Okay.
With a whole load of that. Generally, it's hip hop, it's reggae, it's house music, it's electronica, and then this will come on, and maybe a bit of Sonic Youth, a bit of Dinosaur Jr., a bit of Jane's Addiction, and that kind of sound is early snowboarding, early skateboarding, and it brings something to life for me and gets me going.
So there we are, Phil Young. What a absolute pleasure to spend some time with him again. As I say, it's been too long. Although Duncan Carr last week reminded me of the fact that me and him and Phil all got pissed up in a pub after the House of Vans TSA bash just before lockdown. So, yeah, nice to remember that. And, yeah, just a pleasure to hang out with Phil. He's such an easy guy to hang out with, always interested in what you're up to, always interesting because he's doing cool stuff. What a G. And, yeah, responsible for me and DJing, which certainly has led me down a career path that I might not have ended up down had it not been for starting DJing. So, yeah, Phil, I owe you one big time. I'll get you a pint next time I see you. So, as we go to air this weekend, we go to air on the 6th of March, and on the 8th of March, the TSA are opening their sort of flagship snowboarding shop up at Greystone Action Sports in Manchester. This is their first time they've had a standalone snowboard store. Normally, the TSA is part of a bigger company called Ellis Brigham's. We all know that. And yeah, this is quite exciting. So they are having their very own snowboarding shop. The TSA has its own shop in Manchester, which should be a destination if you're in the north for any snowboarding purchases. They will certainly have everything you need in there. And they've also just started their sale, so you can get what you need at a reasonable price. There's still nearly 2 months of the season left. It's certainly not done. Everyone sort of forgets about it after the February half term, but the season is by no means done. There is powder turns to be had everywhere. March and April bring snowstorms. I've had some of my best days at Easter time. So yeah, definitely don't forget the season. It's not done yet. We've still got a few episodes to go, and I've still got a few snowboarding holidays. There's the Up Battle. Pray for snow for the Up Battle up in Aviemore next weekend on the 15th and 16th of March. And obviously the British Champs early Feb out in Meyerhofen. Two great places to go and meet some fellow snowboard community members. The snowboard community, as we talked about last week with Duncan Carr's episode, is such a nice place to be. And if you are a snowboarder and you would like a bit of that community action, then just get involved. Get yourself along to a trip. Get talking to people. There's a lot of brilliant people involved in snowboarding, and you are very welcome along. So yeah, that's the big news this week, really. TSA sale, Up Battle, British Champs. I haven't got a lot else. I've got that limited edition number 23, which 23 is an interesting number. You can go and Google that in your own time. Number 23 of the Lax, one of 50 of the Lax Open 10th anniversary Burton Custom. It's a 158, and I'm going to be giving it away. I haven't quite worked out how the best way to do that yet, but it's sat up in my living room, and it is a beautiful thing. Brand new Burton Custom 158, limited edition base and top sheet graphics, and you can win it. I'm going to be giving that away. So yeah, if you aren't following us on Instagram yet, thank you, Snowboarding Podcast on Instagram. You are definitely going to want to follow me if you want to win that board. I haven't worked out the details yet, but it's probably going to be something to do with social media, as is everything these days. And also the merch. If you have inquired about merch, I haven't forgotten, just in the middle of a billion different things. My day job being a music producer takes up quite a lot of my time, and my kids do the rest. So yeah, haven't forgotten merch. It will be happening at some point. Thank you for your patience. So yeah, that's it for this week. Hope you're all doing well. If you want to get in touch, thank you snowboarding@gmail.com, or as I've already said, on the Instagram. The Facebook engagement, I'm sort of giving up on Facebook. It's become a very dire place, and even more so with all the current world events. So I think Facebook's going to die a bit of a death for me. So Instagram is where everything really to do with Thank You Snowboarding is happening. So get on over there and check us out. The YouTube channel's got some stuff up on it. The video that Phil was talking about, the skate movie, I'm going to stick that up on there. Don't put a lot of skate stuff up, really, because that's not the remit. But yeah, we'll post that up if you want to go and check that out. One of Phil's early influences, and that track, Firehose, Brave Captain. I mean, I know it from Snowboarders in Exile, but he was saying, I think it's from Future Primitive. Probably Snowboarders in Exile probably got inspiration for using it from that, I imagine. So yeah, you can find that track, hopefully, on the Thank You Snowboarding playlist on Spotify. Again, Spotify, the enemy to a music producer, but it is quite convenient. So for now, there is a playlist of all the tracks that have been chosen by guests up on there. If you haven't listened to Tim and Jenny's The Après Pod with me last week, well, I was on that last week. You can find that on all podcast platforms too. You'll learn a bit more about me and my life in snowboarding and my life in general. Hopefully it's quite entertaining. I mean, Tim and Jenny and Ollie are entertaining, and hopefully I don't detract from that too much. So yeah, go and check that out too. See you in Scotland next week. If you're there, come and say hi. I'll be at the Pine Martin Lodge watching that, and hopefully up on the mountain as well, doing the up battle thing. So come and say hi. And we'll be here this time next week, Thursday, 10 a.m. If you want to leave us a review and a 5 stars, if you like this thing on your podcast platform, that would be great as well. Right, that's it. Housekeeping done. You've had a few long episodes this time. This is clocking into just under 2 hours, so I'll let you go. All right, thanks for making it to the end. Peace. Thank you, snowboarding.